Someone somewhere right now is seriously considering a lowball job offer that is significantly less than not only what they are currently making or were most recently making 2 or 3 months ago in their last role, but it's less than what the market is paying right now for their skill set. And they're making this decision or contemplating this, not based on extensive research, not based on having conversations with multiple recruiters that are telling them that this is what the market is paying for that skill set or that job title right now. It's based on lack of strategy and probably a little bit of fear and a lot of scarcity. Knowing what your skill set is worth in the marketplace today and the value that you create in an organization, and then asking for that when you are in your negotiation conversations is actually creating a healthy boundary for you and the organization. Now, if you haven't met me, my name is Nicole Dunbar, also known as Coach Nicole, and this is your coaching nugget of the day. Now, today's coaching nugget is for my folks in career transition, predominantly, but there are takeaways for my leaders that are in decision-making positions, that are setting their budget for this year, the rest of this year, or the beginning of next year, and the hiring that they need to do for that. So listen in for this. I cannot stop thinking about a quote that I heard this weekend while, of all things, I'm making breakfast and listening to YouTube in the background, and I have to read this to you. If you miss out on an opportunity because you put a healthy boundary in place, the only opportunity you missed out on is being taken advantage of. Now, the young lady that said this, Bria Jones, is a content creator, and that particular video was about boundaries in life in general. But I honed in on that quote in particular because it echoes conversations I'm having right now with so many clients. At the director level to vice president level, we're talking about, sometimes in our first conversations, about what their expectations are for salary. And I'm hearing a pattern that I didn't hear 2 years ago, or even 4 years ago, even a year ago. And a lot of times when the market feels a little bit odd, which it is right now, it is very odd right now compared to what it's been in past years. I put a video out about that earlier. If you didn't see it, I'll link it in the comments below. I'll link it so you can take a look at that. But when it is in that state, it causes us to preemptively discount ourselves. And what I want to encourage you, if you're in job search mode, to do is to think critically and seriously about whether or not you have any evidence to believe that you personally need to, based on your skill set, based on the industry that you are working, that you're targeting, or industries that you're targeting, based on what the market is paying for your type of role, and maybe even based on the other macroeconomic forces that are happening, whether that's something you need to concern yourself with. Because what I hate to see is for someone to go into a role, accept a salary, and then 6 months into that job, start to be really ticked off, start to feel really ugly inside, because they know good and well that the value that they bring to this organization is so much more than what they actually are getting paid, especially if they were doing something very similar and were making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more elsewhere just a few months before. When that dynamic is set up for you as the job seeker, the person that has that job, now you're unsettled. You're not necessarily always bringing your best to the job, and it almost forces you to start continually looking again. Now, for the person that's on the other side, that hiring manager, that executive team that's looking to have continuity in that organization, yeah, you may have gotten a deal, whatever that means, in the short term, but I can guarantee you're probably going to be replacing that position a lot sooner than perhaps you needed to. Or at worst, the person stays, but they're not really engaged. They're not giving you their all. They're not team, and they don't really trust you because they know when they get in there that you could have paid more, and that they know that they were worth more, but you chose to discount them. Let's talk about the 3 reasons why you want to set healthy boundaries when thinking about your job search and the type of salary that you're willing to accept. I also want to talk about 2 reasons to consider flexing that, because there are appropriate times where you want to flex that. Reason number 1, to set the healthy boundary: inflation. The same bag of groceries that I bought 2 years ago at the exact same grocery store that is a few minutes from my home costs 15 to 20% more than it did 2 years ago. And that's just groceries, right? Let's not talk about all the other things that have increased in cost and influence our spending power, buying power. All of these things are real considerations. You think you're just taking a 10 or 20% cut, but it's actually significantly more than that. That's a real concern. So being aware of inflation's influence on your buying power, and therefore the value of the dollars that you're not making today versus the value of those dollars a couple of years ago. Second one is seasonality. There are times of year that job search is rich and there's a lot going on and there's a lot of opportunity to land great roles. And then there are times where it's a little bit slower. And not that the roles can be had all year long. That is true, as long as you're working a strategy, but the type of strategy you work and what's going to work at different times, your expectations, the length of time it takes for you to land that job, all of those things are influenced by what's happening in the marketplace. And so being aware of that as well, and knowing that if you take a role today, and it's now the 4th quarter of 2023, we're looking into the 1st quarter of 2024 is right around the corner. You take a role today that's not a good fit, you've discounted your pay that you're going to be taking for that, despite what the market pays for your skill set and what you are currently making or just making. And you go ahead just out of just tiredness or just belief based on what the headlines are saying and the weirdness that is real in the market today, you discount that. Chances are you may end up staying in that role, especially my senior level clients, you end up staying in that role for at least a year, maybe 2 years. And now you have 2 years of discounted rates based on what the market would have and does pay for your skill set. And so there is a cost there, because you might have to wait at least another year before you have the same opportunity as you could have between now and the next 3 months, right? There's a true opportunity cost for all of these things. The third reason you want to think carefully as you're setting these healthy financial boundaries, these healthy boundaries for your pay expectations, your salary expectations, is this thing that I like to call just feeling ugly inside. The reality is, when you find that sort of ugliness that's happening, and it usually hits around the 6-month mark, right? That's a point at which you realize, my gosh, I could be making so much more, and I am working so hard for this little amount of money, or for the money that I'm making right now, compared to what it is that I have the skill set to do and what it is that I've made in the past. That usually happens around the 6-month mark. That's when we start to really recognize what we're here to do at that company, and the value that you can create in that company. And it is always my hope that any client that I'm working with does not have to experience that ugly inside feeling. That can be avoided by thinking carefully and critically about what your boundaries are. Now, those are the reasons to set those healthy boundaries. There are, as I said, 2 reasons to flex the boundaries. The first one is obvious, I think, to anybody that's ever been in a job search that's extended itself. Number 1 is sometimes you just need to make some money, right? You just need to make some money, and you need to take perhaps a survival role that can extend your financial runway, give you some additional months of financial runway so that you can actually land the type of role that you're targeting. The other thing about that, if you do choose to do that, you want to think carefully about how long you want to be in that type of role and what your plan is to make sure that you're protecting the job search time so that you can continue to look for a role that's appropriate for your skill set, your experience, and the value you contribute to the marketplace. And then the second reason to flex your boundaries is that ugly inside concept I mentioned, there's typically a number associated with that. And if you can identify the difference between your target rate, your value, what the market pays for your skill set, and that ugly inside number, you might have some space in between those two to flex. That's different for everybody, but it's worth considering, because if it does work for you, it could help you to land a role sooner than perhaps otherwise, depending on your industry. That's it for me today. This is Coach Nicole, wishing you strength for the journey. Career transition is a marathon, not a sprint, and we must have strength for it. We'll speak soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.